Good. How are you?
Good.
How are you?
Good?
Cool.
Cool.
All right.
Okay.
Alright.
Let's have a look at some of these word problems.
Okay.
X is at most 30. Can X be 30?
Is X? Yeah, I can.
So this has to be what?
Oh, X is less than and equal to.
Okay.
Cool.
Number 2. The sum of
Yeah.
5x plus 2x is at least 14. That's fine.
Cool.
Number 3, the product of x and y is less than or equal to 4. How can I write the product of x and y?
Maybe X and Y.
Well, product means multiplication.
Yeah.
So if I said the product of 5 and 7, you'd multiply 5 times 7. In other
Okay.
words, don't interpret that and to mean x plus y.
Okay.
Because the product of this number and some other number means x times y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So x times y is less than or equal to 4.
Okay.
Okay.
And number 4. What does it mean to be 5 more than a number?
Greater than.
Well, you've got the product of 5 and y.
Okay.
And this says 5
Okay.
more than a number y. 5 more than y means this.
Oh, Y plus 5.
Oh, y plus 5.
Right.
Okay.
Is under 20, so that's correct. It's not less than or equal to. It has to be under 20. In other words, in this case, it cannot be 20.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay?
Cool.
All right.
All right. Number
Alright.
5.
Number 5 plus 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's write out the original equation.
Okay.
5 times a number is increased by 4. Well, what are we going to let be the number?
So 20.
What variable? X.
Oh, X. Yeah.
So if 5 times x
mhm.
is increased by 4, the result is at least 19.
So it's
So what
less
should
than.
this
So
be?
it's less than.
You've got it
greater
less than, but at
greater than.
least it needs to be greater than. In other words,
Yeah.
it can be 19,
Yeah.
it can be 20, it can be 21, it can
Okay.
be anything bigger than
Okay.
19. So
All right.
there's our basic
All right.
equation with the
Okay.
proper inequality sign. And then solve this. What's the next line?
Okay. So now
okay,
we would do 19 minus 4.
So now we would do 19 minus 4.
Okay. So the next line is 5x greater than or equal to 15. What's the next line?
So it would 15 divided by 5.
So if
which
15 divided by 5,
or 3.
which is 3.
Okay. So the answer is that, but they want the least possible number that satisfies that condition. So what is that?
3?
3?
Yeah. Which you had all along. But
Yeah.
notice that the direction
Yeah.
you had these really made a big difference here because, well, if that was our equation, 3 wouldn't be the answer because 3 wouldn't be the least possible.
No.
Notice that the number 1 would be less, and the number minus 100 would be even lesser still. So it wouldn't really make sense to come up with the least possible. It would be like
Okay.
asking me, what's the greatest possible number that satisfies that? Well, infinity.
Okay.
So it wouldn't make any sense to ask what the greatest number that satisfies that is.
Okay. Alright, so number
number 6.
Yeah, let me move my thing over here a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yes, and I can turn it around easily. No problem.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, cool.
Okay, the sum of twice a number, what's the number going to be?
So twice.
So twice.
Wait, so the
So the sum of
Well, let's back up. Let's back up a moment. If you can learn this following thing, it will be so valuable to you that it's not funny. And the following thing is that whenever you have a word problem, the most important thing you can do is start off by defining your variable and what it's going to be.
Okay.
So in this word problem, what's the variable going to be?
X.
And what's it going to mean? X is that number. You can just say X is the number.
Okay.
Now, once you've done that most important step, the rest kind of follows easily. So give me an equation that I can write with X in it.
Okay. Okay, so you would do...
you
so
do
2x plus 5
2x
is
plus
greater
5
than
is
15?
greater than 15?
Is
Or less
at
than.
most 15.
Yeah.
Or less than.
Less than or equal to 15.
Okay.
Okay? And you've got all of these the correct answer. What are the possible values for the number? Well, you don't quite have it the way they want.
Yeah.
In other words, we have to solve for X. We have
Okay.
to solve for X here. You came up with a value for X that works, but let's solve this inequality. That's what they really want you to do, is you want to see equations with an X in it, and then an answer, X is less than or equal to or something. So what's the next line here?
So you would do 15 minus 5.
So you would do 15 minus 5.
So what's the next line? Rather than telling me what to do, just read the next line.
Okay, so it would be...
Okay, so it would be... Wait, so...
Okay, so it would be 2x...
It would be
2x is greater than
2x
or less than and equal to...
or less than and equal to...
Okay, next line.
Alright, then 10 divided by 2, so it would be x is less than 5.
Okay, and that's the answer they're looking for. Because what are the possible values for the number? Well, the possible values are anything that's less than or equal to 5, not just 2.
Yeah.
You came up with 1 there, but you didn't give all the possible values, which that does.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay? And every one of these is going to be kind of the same. In other words, we're going to define the variable. So let's look at 7.
Okay. So...
So...
What's your variable? What does it mean?
X. So it'd be X.
X. So it'd be X.
Yeah, X is equal to...
Yeah, X is equal to...
It's a...
The number of containers.
The number.
The number of containers.
Okay.
Okay, and they want the maximum number of containers. So there's your clue as to what X is. So whatever they want, that's what you should let X be.
Okay.
In other words, up here, what was the least possible number? That X is that number. Down here, what are the possible values for the number? That number is X. So the maximum number you got for 15 equations up is what?
So the maximum number of containers...
So for number 7...
Yeah,
So
I need an equation with X.
Yeah.
I need an equation with X in it. Not an equation, an inequality, excuse me.
Okay.
Okay.
So what is that equation?
So the cost of
let me see here. So would it be
so would it be
50x
50x
is or plus
plus
oh 3 well
Less than
yeah less
or
than
equal to
less than
15.
equal to
And it can be equal, assuming
Okay.
that that's an answer. It's not going to be an answer. Okay, so what's the next step of solving this inequality?
So now you do 15
so
divided
now
by
you do
3.5.
15 divided
So
by
it'd be
3.5.
What is that?
So it'd be
less than or equal
x
to
is less than or equal to
let me see here.
let me see here. So it'd be
You have a calculator?
Yeah,
If you have a calculator, use your calculator for this one. And I'll tell you why. Is we don't care what this part is.
Yeah, I got 4.2.
Yeah, I got 4.2.
Okay. And we don't care about the point 2 because the question says, what's the maximum number of containers you can buy for $15? So what is my answer?
$4.
$4.
4 containers.
For 4 containers.
Not
okay.
$4.
For 4 containers.
We can buy 4 containers.
Yeah.
We can't buy 5. If we bought 5 containers, that would take $17.50, and we can't buy a half a container. So that's why I didn't really care what this number was. As long as it was between 0 and 9, we know we're going to drop it.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let's look at number 8.
Okay.
Hold on.
Cool.
So 3 times the number increased by 8.
3 times the number increased by 8.
Okay, what's the
Is
start?
no more than a number. Okay, so it'd be 3x.
Okay, so it'd be 3x.
Okay, x equals the number.
Yeah, the number.
Now this may seem a little silly to actually label what it is, but trust me, it really helps when you're going to write the equation. Rather than just assuming x is whatever, rather than assuming x is the unknown variable somehow, it really helps to write it, because as these get more and more complicated, it won't be that clear what x is.
Yeah.
So making it crystal clear what the variable is really valuable. So now that I know that x is the number, what can I write in the way of an inequality?
So 3x plus 8 is greater than 4.
No more than.
Greater than 4.
Hold it. No more than. What is that going to be meaning?
Less, so it's less.
Less than or equal to.
Yeah.
No more than means less than or equal to. If I tell you what's the biggest number that's not more than 17, you would say 17. In other words, it could be equal to 17. So it's no more than, and then what's the right side of this inequality?
Decrease by 4.
What's the right side of the inequality? How do I write it?
3x is 4.
No. It's no more than the number. What's the number?
X.
Okay, so it's less than
x minus 4.
X minus 4, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, now solve this.
Alright. Let me
I kind of like to do these in one step. I kind of like to move my variables all to the left and my numbers all to the right.
Yeah, actually, my math teacher said that we didn't have to solve this one because we haven't learned it yet, how to solve it yet.
Well, it's no different than anything else. I can subtract x from both sides, which leaves me 2x over there, and I can subtract 8 from both sides, which leaves me minus 12 there.
Oh,
Divide both sides by 2,
okay.
and there it is.
Okay.
So
Okay.
find the number, and the number is minus 6. Yeah, no, that's no different than solving an equation. The only thing different about this was we had an x on both sides.
Yeah.
But you can treat that the same way you would treat a number. In other words, you can just subtract x from both sides.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that was 8. Let's try 9.
Okay, yeah. So I got 2/3 plus 5 is greater than and equal to 12.
is greater than and equal to 12.
Okay, well, give me the equation. What you're missing on all of this. Or rather, give me the inequality.
Okay.
So would it be 2/3 plus 5 is equal to 12?
So it'd be 2/3 plus 5 is equal to 12.
Hold on. Don't forget the variable. 2/3 of a number.
Oh, x. 2/3 x.
What's the number?
2/3 x.
Okay.
Yeah.
In other words, you've done that on every one of these, is you've left out the x.
Okay.
Even though you've come up with the right answer in a lot of cases, this is not going to be what the teacher wants to see. She's going to want to see that x. So 2/3 of a number, there's the number, plus 5. What's the rest of it?
Is greater than and equal to 12.
Is greater than and equal to 12.
Just greater than 12.
Oh, okay.
It just says It just says greater than.
Yeah.
No greater than or equal.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the next line?
No.
So now you do 12
now
minus
you
5.
do 12 minus 5.
So what's the next line?
So it'd be 2/3 x.
So it'd be 2/3
is greater
x
than and equal
is greater
to
than and equal to
7.
7.
Just greater than, not equal to.
And I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
And what's the next line?
So now you do 7 divided by 2/3.
2/3.
Let me do this real fast.
So the next line is?
Let me see.
Let me see a sec.
It's 21 over 2.
So 21 over 2. So okay, so
X greater than 21 over 2.
21 over 2.
Okay. Well, in this particular problem, they said find the number, but there's a whole bunch of numbers. As long as they're greater than 21 over 2, then we've satisfied they're greater than 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's open up the next page here. Let's see, is that, yeah, must be this one, 121? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi? Hi?
Okay.
Okay, I thought I heard my dog whining.
Sarah, right?
Sarah, right?
Yeah, she's fine.
Okay.
All right, let's see. In order to be admitted for a certain ride, a child must be greater than or equal to 36 inches tall and less than 48 inches tall. Which graph represents these conditions? What is greater than or equal to 36 and less than 48?
I said number 1.
Correct. Because it's got the closed circle there. That means the greater than or equal to. And it's got the open circle there, which means just less than 48.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Which statement is modeled by that expression? 2p plus 5 is less than 11.
Okay. 11 minus 6 by 2 is 3. Wait, oh, okay, so the sum of 5 and 2. I think it'd be number 1.
Okay, is at least 11. What does that state? What does that inequality say? An inequality says
That's,
less than 11.
yeah.
At least 11 meaning it has to be 11, 12, 13, 14. So
Okay.
let's look again. So number one
So
is,
it'd actually be, would it be, C, or 3? Because 2 times P plus, oh wait, no, that doesn't make, yeah.
that would be close, except 3 would be is at most 11, meaning it could be 11.
Oh, okay.
That would be 2p plus 5 is less than or equal to 11.
Yeah.
What about 2?
5 added to the product of 2 and P is less, that would work.
That works. Don't get confused by this and. Remember that when you say the product of this and that is not addition. It means 2 times p.
Yeah.
Okay?
Alright.
All right, number 3, which is not a solution of that inequality.
Would it be 0?
Well, let's solve that inequality before we go guessing, because that's the important thing, is to be able to solve this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
5 minus 2x is greater than or equal to minus 3. What's the next line?
Okay, so you would do minus 5.
Okay, so what's the next line?
Negative 8.
So 2x is greater than or equal to negative 8.
No, when you move the 5 to the other side, what's left? When I take this 5, what you wanted to do as the first step was to move this to this side, right?
Yeah.
What's left over when you do that?
Wait, so
What's left behind? When I subtract 5 from both sides, what remains on the left side of the inequality?
2x.
No.
Or
Negative 2x.
negative 2x, yeah.
Okay, in other words, removing this 5 does not do anything to that negative sign.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so now what's on the right side?
Alright, 8, negative 8. My bad.
Negative 8. Okay, what's the next step and what's the next line?
So it would be x is less than and equal to 4.
Good. In other words, the next step is you're going to divide both sides by minus 2 and switch the inequality sign.
Yeah.
Because you've divided by a negative.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So if x has to be less than or equal to 4, which is not a solution?
4?
Correct. By 4 you meant 5.
Yeah.
Who's on first?
So it'd be 5.
No, it would be 4.
Or 4, yeah, okay.
Now what's on second? Who is on first? No, I'm trying to be funny. Okay.
Yeah.
That they would put the answer 4 as 5 and the answer 3 is 4 and the answer 2 is 2.
Oh. That's funny.
It is kind of funny.
I see it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which statement can be modeled by x plus 3 is less than or equal to 12?
Okay. So I'll take let's have 12 crickets. I think it'd be 2.
Let's look at 1. First of all, 2 doesn't really say much. It says Jenny sold 3 cookbooks and she has to sell at least 12 cookbooks. So I can't even create any kind of an equality from that.
Actually, no, you can't.
Number 1 says Sam has 3 bottles of water. Together, Sam and Dave have at most 12 bottles of water. What's our variable and what's it going to be equal to?
Wouldn't it be x plus 3 equals 12?
You want to keep skipping that first step. And I'm just going to suggest that you don't skip that first step. The first step is what's the variable?
Okay. X.
And what is it equal to?
So x is equal to
In this context.
x plus...
No, in this context, what is x? Is it
X
the number
would
of bottles that
be...
Sam has, or is it the number of bottles that Dave has?
It'd be the number has.
What is it?
So, wouldn't it be both?
I'll give you a hint. It's either the number of bottles that Sam has or the number of bottles that Dave has.
Oh, Dave has.
Okay, because they told us how many Sam has. So
Yeah.
X is the number of bottles that Dave has.
Okay.
And it's worth spelling it out because once you do, now it becomes obvious. What equation or inequality would result from this sentence?
So that's x plus 3 is I'm kind of confused.
Is at most. At most means less than or equal to 12.
Oh, yes, yeah, okay.
So the goal here, really, the goal in solving this problem is to take each statement they give us and see if we can formulate that into an inequality that matches this. Well, in order to do that, we need to assign a variable and know what it is. In other words, that was a very important step here because we had to say not only that X is the variable, but it represents the bottles that Dave only has. And since they're telling us that Sam has 3, then it's got to be Dave's plus Sam, X plus 3, have at most means less than or equal to 12.
Less than.
Right.
Well,
there's the inequality that results from sentence 1. Since that matches that, we're done.
Okay.
Let's see if we can come up with some equations for the others here. What would you come up with for number 3? What's your variable?
2 times P.
Don't start with
2P.
Start with a variable.
So alright, so it'd be it'd be X is equal to 2P
No? See, they're telling you how many Peter has, just like they told us how many bottles of water Sam has.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong problem. My bad.
That's okay. So, for number 3, what's the variable going to equal?
Okay, so the variable is going to equal, like, how many baseball hats?
His brother's hats.
Or brother's hats.
All of his brother's hats. His plural brothers' total number of hats. That's what X is.
Okay.
So now that I know Peter has 2 baseball hats, and that his hats plus his brother's hats have to be fewer than 12, what can I write in the way of an inequality?
Oh, well, Peter's... Okay, so would it be 2p?
No, it's not 2p.
No.
It has two hats,
Yeah.
so it's just 2. The variable
Yeah.
is his brother's hats. So it'd be
Okay.
2 plus the number of hats his brothers have.
So yeah, 2 plus x is greater than,
Fewer than.
or yeah,
Less
than, my bad.
Less than, my bad.
And 12.
And 12.
Okay, and it's not less than or equal to, it's just less than.
No.
No.
So this
Yeah.
is what would result from number 3. Okay? I can actually, I can write an inequality and it doesn't match what they gave us. So that's not the answer. Let's go back to 2. Notice that in 2, we can't even define a variable. That's why 2 makes no sense at all. Jenny sold 3 cookbooks. To earn a prize, she must sell at least 12. I guess you could say X would be the number of cookbooks she needs to sell. So X would be the number of cookbooks she needs to sell.
Okay.
So now, how can I write that?
So you could write it like the Genesis 3 books. So would it be 3 plus x is greater than 12?
It's 3 plus X would be equal to 12. To earn a prize, she has to sell, well, actually it has to be greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to. Which means that to solve for X, X has to be greater than or equal to 9, which is the answer. In other words, to earn a prize, she must sell at least 12 cookbooks. So that's a terribly worded thing there because they don't explain the variable at all. You kind of have to figure it out. Let's look at 4. Kathy swam 3 laps in the pool this week. She must swim more than 12 laps. That's kind of similar to 2. It doesn't really present us with a variable. Let's skip that.
No.
Analyze that because I don't.
Okay.
So let's look at number 6.
Okay. So 4 times the number is greater than negative 48. What are the possible values for the number?
Okay. It's my first step.
Okay, so x is equal to
The number.
the number.
Okay. Now what inequality can you write?
Okay, so you could do 4x 4x plus 4x is greater than 48.
Negative 48?
Oh, negative 48, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
What's the next line?
Okay, so now you do x is greater than and equal to
No.
14.
It would just be, first of
12.
all, we don't, negative 12 is correct. But we don't pick up a greater than or equal to. Once we start off greater than, it stays greater than. It doesn't change to it never does. Whatever you start off with, you end up with when you're solving these inequalities. Unless it gets reversed. Its direction can get reversed, but nothing else. So the possible values for the number are anything greater than negative 12.
Yeah.
So give me one number that might satisfy that.
Negative 11, negative 10.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure you were on the right place on the number line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, here we just have to do 1, 3, 5, and 5.
1, 3, and 5. Okay.
Cool.
Word problems. Everybody hates word problems. But
I know.
I can tell you that they will become a piece of cake as long as you do this first step every time. Because the reason
Okay.
people hate word problems is because they never define that variable, and then they try to write an equation without knowing what the variable means.
Yeah. Okay. So the quotient of a number in 15 is no greater than 450. What are the possible values of the number? Okay, so it'd be x is a number.
A number.
Okay?
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 Okay, now what's the inequality we need to write?
Oh, so 15
Oh, so 15
is less than 450.
than 450.
Okay, if it said the product of a number and 15, what would you write?
15x.
15x.
Okay, so when it says the quotient of a number and 15, this and does not mean plus.
Yeah,
It's
so
just telling you that some number and 15 are in a quotient together. So how do I write that?
so you would write it 15 minus x.
It's x divided by 15.
Oh, so x.
In other words, if
okay.
it's the product of a number and 15, I would multiply the two numbers.
Okay.
Quotient means we're going to divide the two numbers.
Okay.
And it also means that the number, this is on top, this is on bottom.
Yeah.
So what does it mean is no greater than 450.
Okay, so less than?
Can it be
Or no.
450?
Yeah, I can. So less than and equal to.
There you go.
Cool.
Cool.
So now what?
So 450
So
divided by
450
15.
divided by 15.
Or times 15.
Or times 15.
Times 15.
Yeah.
So it's, now how are we going to do that quick? Well, 450 times 10 is 4,500 plus half of 4,500. So that must be 67.
60.
25.
Yeah, 67.25.
Yeah, 67.25.
Okay.
Alright. Cool.
Number 3.
Cool.
So,
And the harder these
for
get, the
number
more
one-
important
for
that
number
first
one-
step is.
so yeah, for number one, it
So
says
yeah,
what
for
are
number one, it
possible
says what are the
values.
possible values
For the number.
for the number.
It's all x less than or equal to 6725.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
In other words, this is the answer.
Yeah. Cool. Alright, so number 3. So Jason is saving up to buy a digital camera that costs $490. So far he's saved $175. He would like to buy the camera 3 weeks from now. What is the equation used to represent how much he must save every week to have enough money to purchase the camera? Alright, so first it would be x is to,
You got some choices here now.
yeah,
In other words, different people might solve this different ways. And it all depends on how you define x.
okay. So we would do x is
Usually-
equal to
usually
cost,
you
the
wanna look-
cost of cameras.
Well, not necessarily. Usually you want to look to the last sentence.
Okay.
How much he must save every week. So let's do this two different ways. Let's
Okay.
first of all let x equal not the cost of the camera because they've given us that.
But yeah,
So
how
you
much
never
they
want to
save.
let your
Yeah,
very
how much they've saved.
Yeah, well, no, they've given us that. He's already saved 175. So maybe you would let x be how much more he has to save to buy the camera.
Okay.
If that were true, what's my equation?
So it'd be, yeah, how many more to buy the camera? So it would be, wait, so if it's that, it would be, I don't know.
I know you know how to do this because I know you've waited to buy something and you don't have enough money yet. So how do you figure it out? If a camera costs $490, you've saved $175. How much more do you need? What's the equation?
So if it's, oh, so it'd be 490x,
No.
or no, just 490.
Minus 175, the amount you've saved, would be equal to X.
Yeah.
That's how much more you need to buy the camera. Okay?
Okay.
But that's not what they're asking for, so we're not done. In other words, we solved for X. And that's 315. But they want to know how much must be saved every week to have enough money to purchase the camera.
So would it be $315 per week?
No, that's the total amount you need. You got 3 weeks to save.
So would you do 315 divided by 7?
Divided by 3. There's 3 weeks to save it. You got 3 weeks.
That makes sense.
Okay? So you would have to save $105 each week to buy the camera. But again, that's not really what they want. They want the equation used to represent how much you must save every week. So it gets a little difficult if we let X be how much to buy the camera. Let's go back and change it because it's hard to answer their question now. Let's, instead of letting X be how much more to buy the camera, let's let X be the amount he needs to save each week.
Okay.
Amount to save each week. And now, once we solve for X, we'll have the answer. And that being the case, so now we can say that 490 minus 175 is going to be the total amount that he needs to save. And we're going to divide that by 3 to figure out how much he needs to save each week. So there's the answer. There's both the answer and the equation that they seek. We didn't give them the equation before because the way we had defined X wasn't the good way.
Yeah.
We didn't want to define X as the total amount he needed to save. Usually you want to let X be whatever they're asking for. And in this case here, they want to know how much he has to save each week.
Okay.
So if I let X be the amount he has to save each week, then it's pretty easy to formulate the equation. Because the numerator is how much he still has to save, and the denominator is how many weeks he has to do it.
Yeah.
So this equation comes very fluidly when you have defined X proper. Which means the key to a lot of word problems isn't just defining your variable, it's defining it correctly.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right. So number 5 is number 5. Okay, so your brother has $2,000 saved for vacation. His airplane ticket is $637. Write and solve an inequality to find out how much he can spend for everything else. Alright, so for you would do X is equal to
yeah, exactly.
How much he has left?
No, how much he can spend for everything else.
Yeah.
That's what, in other words, whatever they ask, make that equal to X.
Okay.
How much he can spend in after a while, you get so you don't have to write it all out like this. But when you're first starting these word problems, it's very helpful. How much you can spend on everything else.
Okay.
Now, I realize that when you're taking a test, you don't want to waste time doing that. But it's so critical to know what X means that if you at least practice in your homework doing it this way, then when it comes time to take the test, your thought processes will be correct. You'll start off thinking about what the variable should be and what does it mean. So what's the inequality that I can write?
Okay, so you would do, so how much you can spend and everything else. So it would be 2,000, 2,000 plus X. No,
Okay, pretend you're going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And you got $2,000. You're going all by yourself without anybody else.
Yeah.
You've saved $2,000. Your plane ticket is $637 to get there and back. How much do you have to spend at Disneyland?
When you just subtract 2,000 from
That's it.
637.
It's as simple as that. So you have 2,000 minus 637, and what's the relationship between X? Is it equal to that?
It would be, no, it wouldn't be equal to.
Well, actually it is. The way we've defined X, even though they say write and solve an inequality, the fact is the way we defined it, as long as X is how much he can spend on everything else, then that number is going to be 2,000 minus 637. But what they really kind of wanted us to do was to say X is less than or equal that number, because you certainly don't have to spend all your money. In other words, nothing that says that when you go to Disney World you got to spend $1,373. It just says you have $1,373 to spend. So you can spend up to that amount, including that amount.
Okay.
So this would be correct here.
Cool.
Despite how we've defined it.
Okay. All right.
Is that everything?
That's it.
Okay. These were good problems tonight. These were a little tough.
Yeah, they were.
Just got to make sure, just make sure you get it straight on what these phrases mean. At least means greater than or equal to. Not
more than.
Not more than means less than or equal to. Less than means less than. So, okay.
All right, cool.
Okay. Well, let's call it a night, and
All right, sounds good.
Good luck on this quiz.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Dylan. Have a good
Cool.
week. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.